football. But something was really bothering you this morning. Even when you came in, you were locked in. You had the headphones on. You're like Eminem before a show, man. You were B-Rabbit over there, getting locked in. You were losing yourself in these contract details for Shohei Ohtani. So why don't you break it down for all the Giants fans and all the baseball fans out there?
This is a tough weekend for Giants fans, I feel like. You know, when we won the World Series, I always thought, like, they built the stadium. They were always one of the have-nots, right? Meaning they were one of the teams that was going to collect revenue sharing, all right? That's the way baseball's set up. You have a bunch of teams at the top, and then you have a bunch of teams at the bottom, and the teams at the bottom collect money, like a welfare check, from the teams at the top who are printing money. And it felt like the whole journey to find a stadium, going back 30 years. I know most young Giants fans don't know about this. What the A's are doing right now, the Giants did for 25 years, 30 years. They tried to go to Toronto. They tried to go to Santa Clara. They tried to go to St. Petersburg. They were searching for a stadium. And they kept saying, when we get a stadium, we'll be able to reinvest into the team, right? Financially. And boy, did they ever. I mean, it coincided with them having the greatest hitter of all time. He was obviously a free agent acquisition prior to them, even landing a stadium deal. And when they won their World Series, the way that they did, it brought a financial windfall that, to me, as a Giants fan who grew up day one when they were the have-nots, I was like, okay, now we are in that upper 8 echelon, as I call it. You're never going to be the Yanks. You're never going to be the Dodgers. Can you be a version of the Red Sox or the Cardinals, right? Can you be a version of them? When you win 3 World Series in a 5-year span, and everywhere you went for a decade, Giants gear every Christmas, right? The way the Warriors are right now, that's where the Giants were. Just going back 7 years ago.
I saw panda hats. I saw draft hats. I saw everything Giants-related nonstop, all the way down to the Monterey Peninsula. Hell, you can go down to L.A., you'd see a bunch of Disneyland.
I mean, how many former A's fans, how many non-baseball fans became Giants fans? All of them. How many dormant Giants fans decided to be locked in? Or the casual Giants fan was like, oh, yeah, I'll be locked in. Like, I just think about the Warriors. I used to go all over. The Warriors, you couldn't find someone with Warrior gear.
No.
Ever.
No.
Forever. Until about 7 or 8, 9 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I look at where the Giants are at right now, and it hurts me because they've had this guy Farhan running things. Do I think Farhan should have landed Shohei Ohtani? Absolutely not. Like, no, why would Shohei want to come here? The bigger disappointment is the reality setting in for every other Giants fan, which I came to multiple years ago. We're nowhere near where we should be. The whole point of bringing Farhan in here was to be an attractive spot by year 6, year 5, so that someone like Shohei or like Aaron Judge last year wouldn't even think twice about, those should be my finalist teams. Not using us to leverage one of the big brokers into squeezing $100 million out of them, actually legitimately considering to come here.
It's tough, man. And
they're not even a consideration, Joey.
You look at his track record, right? The teams he played for, like, you thought you were getting like a Billy Beane disciple, right? And I think you've seen some of that in place. Like, listen, like the J.D. Davis acquisitions have been great. Stuff like that, that's fine. That's nice. But I need some big tuna here. The difference between the A's and the Giants, as you've alluded to, the A's couldn't retain their big fish. They had to go somewhere else. They had to trade them before they became free agents. You have the vast amount of resources to do that. So why can't we see these guys? And when they do come up, hey, we send them back down. We play these little games, this little patty cake, if you will, with the minor league system. So at this point, just lean into the young guys. Like, that's where I'm at. If I'm a Giants fan, lean all into the youth movement. If you can go get some pitching, that's what I would prioritize, because you're not going to beat the Dodgers hitting. Like, that's just not going to be it. But you can beat them on the mound. But build around like the pitching staff at this point. Like, I'm just trying to find solutions.
No, I have solutions.
Yeah. So that's where I would be at with the Giants. It's tough. I know the whole, the deferred contract. Everyone's freaking out about that, and we'll get into the Shohei Ohtani aspect of the deferred contract. What is he making, Shasky? $20 million the next decade with the Dodgers?
So, like,
something like that.
The Shohei deal is a twist of the knife. Like, it's one thing for him not to come to, like, I didn't expect him to come to the Giants. I didn't want him to go to the Dodgers. Okay, he went to the Dodgers. And then you get the news yesterday that $680 million of the $700 million is going to be deferred. Now, there are multiple types of deferments. Everyone's going to go immediately to the Bobby Bonilla one, where he got 30 years and $1 million a year, right? Meaning, here's the life of your contract. We're going to pay you when you're not playing. right? Imagine if you had a 3-year deal. Joe Spadoni, I gave you $1 million a year, but it's the total of the contract is $6 million. So in year 1, you make $1 million. In year 2, you make $1 million. In year 3, you make $1 million. And then when you're not playing for my team, I gave you another $3 million. And it might be spread out over multiple years. That's what's happening with Shohei Ohtani. Now, is it unprecedented? No, it's happened before. But in terms of this amount of money and to be able to do it this way, not that it's unfair because they found the loophole in the financial, CBA, CBT agreement that they have in place. But the problem is like, dude, nobody can do this in baseball. Nobody can do this in baseball. Yeah, not one other team.
The thing you alluded to, so the Article 16 on the CBA, deferred compensation. So this is via Jeff Passan. And if it goes over your head, don't worry. It kind of.
I'll explain it for you very simply.
There you go. There shall be no limitations on either the amount of deferred compensation or the percentage of total compensation attributable to deferred compensation for which a uniforms player's contract may provide. So there's a lot of word jargon there. Basically, you could defer as much as you want.
Well, there's two. When you're in the front offices, there are two types of deferred payments. One is backloading it. So the life of the contract, let's say it's a 3-year deal, okay? And you signed a $10 million deal. Well, in year 1, I pay you $2.5 million. In year 2, I pay you $2.5 million. And then in year 3, I pay you $5 million, right? And then your contract expires and I don't owe you that. That's a backloaded deferment, right? Some people call it amortizing it. When you have a mortgage, Joe, I don't know if you have a mortgage, your payments start low and your interest is extremely high. Then by the time you get to the end, the interest is extremely low and your principal payment is very high. Then there's the Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer gets a 5-year deal, $200 million. Well, he doesn't get all $200 million during that 5-year span. He gets half of it during the 5 years. And then for 5 years, when he's not playing for the team, they give him another $100 million. But here's where it gets tricky, right, Joe? Because right now, I don't know if you're paying attention, but the NBA and Major League Baseball are in a boatload of trouble right now when it comes to their money.
What? Why? They just had the in-season tournament. Did great.
Television deals are expiring everywhere, Joey. Like, I've been all over this. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Your Lakers, what channel can you watch your Lakers if you lived in L.A.?
Spectrum Sports.
Spectrum Sports, okay? That's the company that signed a big deal with the L.A. Dodgers as well. Huge deal. $8.35 billion over 25 years.
It's an awful lot of money.
Now, if anybody's been paying attention to the sports scene right now, the Miami Heat, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the San Diego Padres, teams on both the NBA and Major League Baseball, their regional sports networks are collapsing. So the money that they were relying on is no longer to be had. Why do you think all of these teams are selling people? Why did the Padres sell off Juan Soto?
Well, there's upper management now. You got a new owner. There's
they physically can't afford
it right now.
They can't afford him. They were expecting $80 million from their particular Bally Sports, and they weren't going to get that revenue. The Dodger deal is the only deal in NBA and in the Major League Baseball where they're guaranteed the money. It is ironclad. They are getting $8.35 billion over 25 years. The Lakers can't even say that. The Yankees own their network. Yes, network. They can't even say that. On top of that, their owner for the Dodgers, Mark Walter, is a part of Guggenheim. They're worth $295 billion. What I'm getting at here is that they have a war chest of money and they can use the loopholes in a way no other team in sports can even come close. Eddie D found loopholes and we loved it. Joe Lacob has found loopholes and we love it, not to this extent.
Well, what I would say to this, and this all sounds like the Dodgers are the evil empire and all this stuff, and up here they are, obviously. But I don't think people will start really being big mad about this until they start winning titles, right? That's the only time it's like, then it seems unfair. Because they can get Shohei, they could do all this deferment. They still haven't really won. Like they've won they've won the NL West, great. Until they start winning actual championships, I'll be like, well, the D-backs, they're the ones in the World Series, not the Dodgers. So why should I care? It's not that big of a deal. It's one player, right?
But then when Corbin Carroll goes to, hit free agency, you think he's going to stay with the Arizona Diamondbacks?
He might. Diamondbacks just signed a pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, for like $90 million.
Well, think about the equity in the NBA, right? Max contracts are all equal, right? If max contracts weren't all equal and the money wasn't all equal with the RSNs and the Warriors couldn't afford Steph Curry, wouldn't your head explode if you're a Warrior fan?
Yes.
Right? And then let's just say hypothetically, the Knicks or the Lakers, one of the big branded teams, could give him deferred payments over a 20-year span. it would be totally unfair.
Yes, but this
screws the fan.
But this is also where ownership matters, because now I'm looking at like John Fisher's. I'm looking at all these cheap owners around Major League Baseball, around all sports. Like, good for the Dodgers for doing this. Good. I hope it puts all those other crappy owners on notice. It should. And good for Shohei Ohtani for actually wanting to win and compete, because he's been in a franchise also in Los Angeles and the Anaheim Angels. They allocate resources in a horrible way. And he's been there for now, 5 years or so, and they had one of the greatest players in the history of baseball, Mike Trout, and still couldn't do anything. So you know what? Good on them for finding the loophole and exploiting it. Now, when is the next CBT or collective bargaining agreement? 10 years or whatever?
Yes.
So they'll figure it out then. But I think this is going to be more the exception, not the rule. I think Shohei Ohtani is a very unique player. I think these are a very unique set of circumstances. I don't know if a player like this is going to be coming out. I know we had Bryce Harper sign. I know Shohei Ohtani. I don't think we're going to see another $700 million, $800 million, whatever, in the next decade plus. Maybe I'll be wrong. 888-957-9570.
I mean, Joey, what would LeBron James have been worth in this scenario?
I mean, they're different sports, though. That's the thing. Like, there's a cap. There's they can't.
That's the problem with baseball. Right there. That's the problem with baseball. Last night,
the salary cap, the salary floor.
Who were the teams on Monday Night Football last night? It was the Titans.
Yes.
Okay. The Jaguars, the Dolphins, and the Packers. Correct?
The Dolphins, not the Jaguars.
Excuse me. Joe, the average fan cares about those teams more than they care about the 15 bottom feeders of Major League Baseball right now.
I mean, I could argue I care more about what the Jaguars do than the Atlanta Braves. To be quite honest,
that's what I'm saying.
Nationally,
yes. But what is the big advantage the NFL has? They're splitting national revenue across the board, and if the Jaguars have a good player, they're going to be able to retain them if they want.
Yes,
it's not because they can't afford them. Literally, 11 teams can't afford their own payrolls. They can't even compete.
You're telling me?
It's driving me nuts. So, and again, I love baseball probably more than most. You know, I do. Imagine if De'Aaron Fox couldn't be retained by the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento would have to, they would have to be a feeding ground for the entire NBA. That would be brutal.
Again, it goes back to the ownership of those teams, though. I feel like we're letting them off the hook at the end of the day. I don't give a damn. Keep your good star players. It's as simple as that.
How is a team
create an environment where people want to stay there? It's not. I feel like they've taken crazy pills with some of the owners, because it shouldn't be this difficult. Great, the Dodgers will always be there. The Lakers, the Miami Heat, those markets will always be there and be an attractive piece for those players. But the difference between guys like Steph Curry, guys like De'Aaron Fox, and we'll pick this up on the other side, is listen. They want to be the reason why others come to this market, right? They
plus the money, but plus the money is there for them. The Pirates physically cannot give a $500 million deal.
That's their fault. Then the owner needs to go, right?
But the finances of the entire sport are different because you're cutting national revenue. I know the Jags will get a $300 million TV contract from the league. $300 million. Here you go. The Pirates don't even know if they're going to get a $20 million television deal handed to them because their TV network is broke.